assembly we're doing virtually, so exciting day for us. It's also Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to everyone out there. We've got a great theme. We've got some great speakers, and we'll be hearing a bit more about them as we go through the hour. The theme is how to care intensively, and that's what we've got, just showing on the screen as we speak. And our speaker is Jayamohan, who's a consultant paediatric surgeon from the John Radcliffe Hospital in Oxford. So we're going to be hearing from him later. We'll also hear from poet Clare Potter, and Jennie Sutherland, a member of the community, will be trying her best. And that's what we've got coming up on a Sunday assembly. So I always like to get an idea. We always like to get a bit of an idea about where people are coming from. One of the great things about doing this this virtually is that you can join from anywhere, right? You don't have to be in London. You don't have to be in Conway Hall. You can just join from anywhere. So I'm in East London, and we've got a few people just filling in the chat there. So if you are no matter where you are in the country, just pop the town or the village, wherever you are in the chat. Look at all this. Wow, loads of different places. I've seen Bristol, we've got Watford, we've got Brighton, we've got Scotland up there. Okay, the new. We've got Fee in the room next door to me. That's right. We got Newcastle, Suffolk. Wow, this is great, isn't it? Look at all this. Oviedo in Spain. Lovely. I bet it's lovely over there. We've got Ontario, Canada, Ireland. Gosh, we do have a variety of places. Sheffield, good old Yorkshire. That's the first Yorkshire one I've seen. Good old Sheffield, the great steel city. Lots of people from London, and of course Clare Potter from Pontypridd. We'll be hearing from you later, Claire, doing some of the poetry, which is amazing. So loads of people from loads of different parts of the country, and that's what makes, I think, these virtual assemblies so special, is that we can just connect, we can join together, in a bit of virtual fun for just an hour on a Sunday, get us set up. The values of Sunday assembly are live better, help often, and wonder more. And that's really what we try to do with these things. We try to create the space in which we can do that, and we can get together with friends, and we can just sort of have a learn interesting stuff, sing songs. We will be doing some songs, and just have a bit of fun. A few more locations coming up. Yeah, we've got loads of people from everywhere. So I think what we'll do, we're going to start, and we're just going to start with a song. I think let's do this. We like to start on a high. So put your records on, not literally, just listen and sing along if you can.
Little birds sat on my window, and they told me I don't need to worry. Summer came like cinnamon, so sweet. Little girls double dutch on the concrete. Maybe sometimes we got it wrong, but it's alright. The more things seem to change, the more they stay the same. Don't you hesitate, girl, put your records on. Tell me your favorite song. You go ahead, let your head down. Sapphire faded jeans, I hope you get your dreams. Just go ahead, let your head down. You're gonna find yourself somewhere, somehow. Blue as the sky, sunburned and lonely, sipping tea in a bar by the roadside. Don't you let those other boys fool you. Gotta love that Afro hairdo. Maybe sometimes thought that I was stronger. When you gonna realize that you don't even have to try any longer? Do what you want to, go put your records on. Tell me your favorite song. You go ahead, let your head down. Sapphire and faded jeans, I hope you get your dreams. Just go ahead, let your head down. Girl, put your records on. Tell me your favorite song. You go ahead, let your head down. Sapphire and faded jeans, I hope you get your dreams. Just go ahead, let your head down. You're gonna find yourself somewhere, somehow.
About that, brilliant.
Yeah, we can test because Carrie's got a good Zoom.
How awesome was that? I tell you what, what's better than one song? Have you got any signs? 2 songs, that's what's better than one song. 2 songs. And how much fun was that? What great videos. Well, yeah, a bunch of talent, I tell you, in this Sunday Assembly team. Loads of talent. Look at how awesome. I think we're going to be putting those online afterwards as well, just in case you want to re-watch the magic of those little movies that have been made. I tell you what, got some great talent. And that's not only the talent that we've got coming up, because I told you we've got a great Sunday Assembly coming up. We've got a little bit of a running order here, just on the screen. We've got a couple more songs, which is great. And I told you we've got our poet, Clare Potter, next. After that, we'll be speaking to Jayamohan, and he'll be talking to us about his latest book, Everything That Makes Us as Human. And the theme, of course, is centered around that today. It's how to care intensively. We'll be doing all the things that we love in Sunday Assembly, right? We're going to be doing the moment of reflection. We're going to be doing the notices. We love the notices. And we've even got a poll at the end to see how people found it. And right at the end, we're going to have some breakout rooms. And if you want to join in, then you can just stay and talk to people there as well. So first up, we've got all the way from Pontypridd in Wales is our wonderful poet. She's a writer, she's a performer, she's an educator. She works in schools, she's worked around the world, and she's been heavily involved with community projects and with her poetry and her art practice. So over to you, Claire. Oh, you might be on mute, Claire. I think you're on mute.
Sorry. Burida, good morning. I thought with the theme to talk about how to care intensively in terms of creativity and nurturing that. I've had a little bit of a problem with that at times, but I'd like to share a poem of an instance where my little girl brought me back from that. And it's called Poams, P-O-A-M-S, which is what she calls poems. Poems. When you were 7, I said I was giving up. You broke from your colouring to ask, what? Give up what, ma'am? Maybe your child's ear needed assurance. I did not mean you. I hadn't realised I'd said it aloud. Oh, poems, writing, trying to juggle all that. That's all. You laid your blue down, deliberate. Shifted the tone in your voice, so you became my mother that time. Potato in palm, peeler pointing at me, sorting my tears out. Well, you can't give up. You've been doing them poems since you was little. And look now, you got me doing them too, and I'm brilliant. Your words were a hoof to my doubt. You let the dust of the kick settle. Then you picked up your pencil and finished the sky. Some spilled from the page onto the table, the wide sky, which you later filled with birds and other winged creatures. And not necessarily having to write it, but I think it's a poetic thing to do that. And we've all been reconnecting with nature, I think, over this period of lockdown. So I'd like to share a poem about my father, who was a retired firefighter, never read or wrote poetry, but this is what happens. He phones sometimes to tell me the most incredible things. If you asked him, he'd shirk, doesn't think himself a poet. Me? No, I just get my thoughts down and all that. But watch him and you'd see. He went last week to the Dingle, where I'd go to Mitch's school to play, probably around the same beech tree he tells me about today on the phone. And it's not the words he uses that does it, secures his place in the line of poets. No, it's what he did. The beech tree, 250 years older to guess, he says, has upended, come to its natural end. They do that, like us apparently. And there it was, horizontal, all 60 foot of it, laid flat. He's always accurate with numbers, measurements, weights, dates of historical events. But it's not that either. It's that he was compelled to put down his walking stick and climb like he was 10 and nutting or pinching eggs from nests again. And he walked the tree to its tip, avoiding the fall of 15 foot, and then after, reflected. I wanted to walk where no one else had walked, and be in the boughs where all those birds had sung. And he's since got poems published, which is really beautiful, and he's much better than me. And the last poem I'd like to read is, again, if I didn't have such a supportive partner, I wouldn't be able to go out and care if I didn't get care, I wouldn't be able to go out and write things about things I care about. So it's called responsibility. Go, he says. I'll be the anchor. I'll steady the boat. You take your talent out of the house, walk the rivers, sit in fields. I tumble beach stones. Remember, that is your work. The house will be okay. The kids will be okay. We will be okay. But if you don't do this, it will mean death. Don't you waste me. Don't you dare waste what I'm offering. See the horizon, swim for your life. Keep eyes fixed on where you're heading. We'll fish from the same sea. Treasure for us if you just dive and go. Come to the kitchen when you need to eat, and let us all be still. Talk adventure, have our fill. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Claire, for those lovely. Just keep going there. So we've got our next guest speaker. And we're going to go straight to him. He's Jayamohan. He's a consultant paediatric surgeon in the John Radcliffe Hospital in Oxford, and he's got a book out, Everything That Makes Us Human: Case Notes for Children's Brain Surgeons. So I'm going to let Jay speak for himself, and over to you, Jay.
Thanks very much. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for inviting me. I want to start, if I can, by explaining why I ended up getting involved in trying to give the stories of my patients out to a wider audience. And I'd been approached previously, and I said that I didn't want to because I was too busy. And I was on a bus in London going to a meeting. And it's a bit like my dad. There was an old chap in his 80s who'd obviously dressed up to go into London. So he had his tie on and his jacket, was making an effort, and had very clearly had a fairly significant brain injury of some sort, either a stroke or some kind of injury, and he was very weak down one side. And he was trying to get off the bus, and he was struggling to get off the bus. And instead of just giving him time, letting this man who was, doing the equivalent of climbing a mountain for one of us, people were tutting, pushing past him, just unable to give this guy the time to do what he was trying to do. Very, very difficult for him. And it really infuriated me that we'd become so uncaring, intensively uncaring about our compatriots, about our colleagues and friends and people that we don't know, strangers who are just trying to do their own thing, that may have much more difficulty doing things that we think are very easy. And what's been very interesting in the lockdown is, I think that we got that back for a little bit of time. People were much more caring about each other. And I've got a horrible sense over the last 10 days, 2 weeks, that that's starting to wear off again. And people just are starting to become the same mingers that they were before. I hope not, but there's a worry about that. Clearly in my job, so I do children's brain surgery and spine surgery. There's a lot of intensive caring that I do with my patients, my kids, when I'm looking after them and operating them. But I want to talk about a way that we try and care for the wider group, the families, and two things that I do that really involve that. The first is giving antenatal counselling to families who have had ultrasound scans while the ladies are pregnant, and who found that their child has got a very significant abnormality. So while they're pregnant, I then go along and talk about what this will likely mean. And the most common thing that I go and talk about is spina bifida, which is an abnormality of the development of the spinal cord, but which can lead to very different changes in children's ability to mobilize, to walk, and their bladder function, and also quite often differences in their brain function. And for those of you who've had children, will know that going for the ultrasound scan is the most exciting time, and you are waiting for this amazing photograph and picture, and to be able to go and celebrate with all of your family and finally tell them what's going on. But for this small percentage of families, it's as if a hole has opened up in front of them and they've just fallen into this black hole. And that's a very difficult time when you're expecting to hear that, when you hear that, in fact, you need to come and talk to a brain surgeon about your child's abnormalities. What I try and do is give them the information, but I think one of the things which I've learned over the years of looking after these kids is lots of children may have a different lifestyle, may have a different outcome, may not be what the parents are thinking for their child going into these situations, but it doesn't mean it's worse. It's all about it being different. It's about having a different type of life. And much of my discussion is about, yes, your child may or may not be able to walk. They may not be able to mobilize without a wheelchair, but we can get round that. Fortunately, nowadays, there are things that can be done to help children. They may not have bladder function and bowel function, but I give them the examples of, there's one of my colleagues who's a professor of paediatric neurosurgery in America, who's got very severe spina bifida herself, which is why she went into that career. And she has an operating table that's designed, and an operating room wheelchair that allows her to lock into the operating table and do her cases. So what we try and do is pull back from what seems like a very dark, disastrous conversation to actually say, your child is going to have a different life. That's not necessarily worse. And to think about this while you make your decisions, the very difficult decisions about whether you want to continue with your pregnancy or not. And I think it's very important for those of you who have either maybe have a child who's been affected by this, or know people who've been affected by changes from when they're born, to sort of try and get that boundary of not feeling sorry for them. Because actually what I can tell you is that none of my kids want you to feel sorry for them. They get very angry, in fact, if you do. And some of them have got real difficulty, but if they're going to take 10 minutes to get out of the room, you better let them take their 10 minutes to get out of the room and not try and push them out by yourself. But also to support the family and the carers when they need it. It's hard being a parent at any time. Being a parent who may be on call 24 hours, 7 days a week for a few years, we all kind of sign up for that. But we expect at some point that our child will be able to do much more by themselves. But for some parents, this is a lifelong commitment that they have to do. And so again, it's up to us, I think, as a community, to try and care intensively for these families, for the parents, for the carers who need a break, who need a rest, and for us to be able to offer that. And that's very difficult for people who are going to have a child with that condition. But in a very odd way, one of the interesting things I've found is when I say to families when their kids are older, how do you think things are going? They say, well, I don't have anything to compare it to. This is what it was always going to be like, because this is how my child has always been. And the other situation I wanted to just to mention here is a very different situation of a child who's had a sudden, or an adult who's had a sudden injury to their brain. And what's very different there is, of course, they've had a certain life and they've got used to it. So they may be 7, 8 out on their bike. They may be older, wandering about with their pals and falling off, jumping about, falling off a wall, or they may be very much older and be drunk and fall down the stairs or be involved in an assault, which unfortunately still happens. But what's very different there is that you've had a certain quality of life, a certain type of life, and then suddenly it's changed. And rather than growing up not knowing a different lifestyle, here you've suddenly got to change everything you do. And some of my patients go from completely fine beforehand to not being able to walk, not being able to talk, being fed through a tube to their tummy, finding it very hard to get words out. It's very difficult at this point to be able to talk about survival versus death. And at the start of all of these conversations, that's what families are looking for. They want their loved one to survive. But then we get into this situation of, if your loved one does survive and is left with very significant changes to their life, Well, again, it's about us all coming together, not just leaving these families aside. What's unfortunately happened over the last 15 years while I've been a consultant is that there's been increasing isolation of families who are left. They have an intensive caring period while they're in hospital where everybody's around them. And then they go home, and for a period of time, everybody's there still helping them and supporting them. And then gradually everybody else's lives move on. And this family's life is frozen, sometimes for weeks and months and sometimes for years. And if we leave them, they can really struggle because they're having to cope where their entire world has turned 180 degrees. So for those of you who've been through this, unfortunately, you'll know very much what I'm talking about. Those of you who have friends or relatives who may have been through difficult times, they don't go away. They may get less over time, but they don't go away. So every now and then, just give them a call, go around and visit them, and just see if you can take a little bit of weight off their shoulders and give them a little bit of a break. It's interesting that as a surgeon, of course, I operate and I love operating. But actually, the reason why I did pediatric neurosurgery rather than adult neurosurgery, because of this, the ability to treat a child and their whole family, get to know them for 18 years and see them growing now. I've got them growing from when they were born, and now they're 16, 17-year-olds leaving my care, going off to university, getting ready for their very exciting lives. And it fills me with so much happiness and gladness that they have been able to, I don't think gladness is a word, is it? But so much happiness anyway, that they've been able to get the maximum out of life. And what they always say, and what so many people say, and it's true, isn't it? There are so many people with all of their faculties who waste their lives doing essentially nothing. And so many of my kids with limited faculties, with limited abilities, are squeezing every single drop out of life. Gladness is a word, thank you. Are squeezing every single bit out of life. And we should celebrate that. And we should all learn how to care intensively for all of our fellow human beings. I don't know if I've run over. I apologize if I have. I do tend to ramble on. Do I have time for a little bit more or not really? I do.
Yes, you have more time.
I just wanted to touch on what's happening at the moment with coronavirus. It's a very interesting situation in hospitals. And for the families and for the people who've had coronavirus, it has been utterly devastating for the vast majority. Here's what I'm thinking about is all of these other conditions are still going on. People are still getting diagnosed with really severe diseases. People are still suffering from other conditions. But if you like, the spotlight has been taken away from them. And I think it's important that as we move on, and this is not a political comment, this is for all of us as people on this planet, in this country, to remember that there's lots of other conditions that are going on that we have to remember to look after, care for everybody around you as the coronavirus worry starts to settle. We must turn our fight to other conditions and to care for other conditions and the people who are suffering from them, not let all that excitement and energy just whittle away to nothing. So I would encourage us all to continue to care intensively for each other. And thank you very much for having me today.
Thank you very much, Jay.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Jay, thanks so much for giving us that, that really sort of powerful story from your experience there. Really something that I think, you've given us some more, real sort of thoughts there to go up and ponder on. And interesting that the word gladness apparently is a thing. That's definitely a word. We've got many confirmations on the chat. And thank you to Sarah Bell. She mentions the line of a song, "You fill my heart with gladness, take away all the sadness." If it's in a song, it must be real. So there you go. Absolute conclusive proof. We are going to go straight into one of the things that we do in Sunday Assembly is that we take a bit of time to reflect and just take a moment to think about is special for us in the world, or what we want to think about. And so that's what we're going to do now. We're going to spend a couple of minutes just having a moment of reflection, a moment just to be with ourselves. Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you again to Claire for your beautiful poems, and Jay for that wonderful talk. On Sunday Assembly, there's been a lot of things happening in the world today, not least the challenges around racism and the sort of things that are happening around the world. Sunday Assembly has released a statement in terms of an anti-racism statement on our website. Which I want to direct you to. If you get a chance, we'll pop it in the chat, and you can see our response to what's happening in the world there, and what we believe in Sunday Assembly, and how we live better, and how we help often, and how we wonder more in the context of that statement. So we're going to have another song. I think that's what we're going to do. We love singing in Sunday Assembly, so let's go for our third song of the day, and we've got My Baby Just Cares for Me by Nina Simone.
One, two, three.
Put a little jazz on your Sunday morning. Come along. Here we go. My baby don't care for shows. My baby don't care for clothes. My baby just cares for me. My baby don't care for cars and races. My baby don't care for high don't blazes. Liz Taylor is not his style, and even Lana Turner's smile is something he can't see. My baby don't care who knows. My baby just cares for me. Take it away.
Gosh, how amazing was that? Tanya, what was that piano solo? Wow. I think I saw so many comments in the chat just going, oh my God, Tanya, what's going on? Just an amazing piano solo. And thank you to Tanya and to Faith as well. You know, we always get a song from Faith. Faith is, you know, she always sends the video all the way over from America. So that's how much of a world connection that we've got going on with Sunday Assembly. We've got people from all over the world contributing and making beautiful music together like that. We are going to go on to our next speaker. We always have a member of the community who tells us their story, and we call it Trying Our Best. And today's speaker is Jennie Sutherland, who will be trying her best. Over to you, Jennie.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Hello, everyone. I'm a bit out of puff from all that dancing, but here we go. So this talk was actually my way of saying thank you and farewell, because I will be moving to Birmingham next month after a tragically short time attending the London Assemblies. So long as they're still online, I'll be able to sing along with everyone. But once everything reopens, I'll probably be too far away to get my regular dose of Conway Hall goodness. This is actually my 9th move in 5 years. The reason I've ended up hopping around so much recently is because in 2015, I moved out to Japan as an English teacher. I had always thought that living abroad made people more interesting and well-rounded, but actually I feel like it's left me with conflicting feelings about my decision to move out there. On the one hand, I got to do awesome things like hike up mountains every weekend, get better at a second language, teach adorable children, and for example, one evening I heard music coming from outside my window and I decided to go out and follow it. And I followed the sound of drums and I literally found myself stumbling down a tiny, narrow, pitch black alleyway and emerging onto the light and sound of a festival in full swing. In the center was a tower, and on top was musicians and singers, and the people there were just dancing round and round this tower. Somebody was kind enough to teach me the dance, and I spent most of the evening just prancing about, having a whale of a time. At the end of it, I randomly won 2 pairs of traditional Japanese shoes. Neither of them fit me, but it was still great. However, moving to a different country where I didn't know anyone and I couldn't speak the language fluently could be incredibly lonely at times. And there was a lot of things that I missed from home. Moreover, I can't help feeling that if I hadn't gone, I would have much more money and probably be further along in my career by now, which I know sounds incredibly shallow, but when some of your friends own really nice homes and you're in your 30s in an entry-level job, you can't help feeling a little bit jealous. Earlier this year, I saw Shakespeare's As You Like It at the Barbican, and there was one quote that sucker punched me because it managed to express that conflict that I'd been feeling since I returned to the UK. It goes like this: a traveller, by my faith, you have great reason to be sad. I fear you have sold your lands to see other men's. Then to have seen much and have nothing is to have rich eyes and poor hands. So, Jen, I don't hear you ask, how are you dealing with this conflict? How are you trying your best to find peace with the decisions that you've made? Well, I took that quote and I am currently embroidering it on a map. Like that. It's making me feel better to acknowledge the conflict and make something beautiful from it. So I'd like to finish, if I may, with a poem, which I wrote on my flight out to Japan from my friends and family back home. Now that I'm preparing to leave London, I'm going to miss the assemblies at Conway Hall with the same sadness. So I'd like to read it to you now. Each nerve ending stings, each viscera sings. a separation from things they once knew. A new dawn might arise, but the stars will survive, burning on through the skies, black and blue. Memories shimmer, glowing lights on a mirror, ne'er to grow dimmer, it's true. Though space may yawn wide, deepening the divide, still you know that I lied, with a Jew. Thank you very much for listening to me. I truly hope to see your faces again and be able to sing together in person one day. Stay strong, stay safe. I love you guys. お世話になりました。
You can break out and I'll
Oh, Jennie, thanks so much for that. No, that was wonderful. What wonderful. Gosh, and you're going to Birmingham as well. Gosh, we're going to have to do something about that, aren't we, in terms of these virtual things. Who knows what's going to happen in the future, but these virtual, assemblies are definitely, a great way to connect with people from everywhere, all over the country, and definitely, all over the world as well. It's our time of the session where we need to sort of tell you a little bit about, who we are and how we survive and how we make money. Although we're not in Conway Hall at the moment, we still do have overheads. So it's very important that we rely on your sort of kindness and generosity and sort of donations. And that's in terms of money, but also in terms of your time and your commitment and your, the efforts that everyone gives to make Sunday Assembly a wonderful place to be and a safe place to be on a Sunday, and with all the sort of events that we've got going throughout the weeks as well. So I think we've got a slide which we're going to pop up shortly, which will give you a little bit of information about how you can give and receive. And there's some ideas, some suggested donations which you can give to supporters. And there you go, sundayassemblylondon.com /donate is a good place to go if you are able to give us anything, which would be really, really appreciated. There's also another way to give money to support Sunday Assembly, and you can do that via your phone, and you can text SA June, and then there's a dash, and then with the number. So as it reads above there, it says SA June -5 to 70085. That means you've donated £5. So you could say SA June -10, and that means you've donated £10. Sorry, no dash. It's my bad language. It's a space. It's not a dash. I've seen people in the chat say it's not a dash. That won't work, Stuart. What are you doing? Everyone will be trying to donate and they won't be able to. No, it's a space. It's a space. SA June space and then the number, and then that gives you that'll go through to us, and that'll sort of really help us, with the running of Sunday Assembly, and it allows us to keep doing all the great things that we do. So just give people a few moments to to make those donations. Steph and I think colleagues put some of the links in the chat, so you've got the donate link in the chat, so you can just click straight onto that and it'll take you through, or you can get out your phone and just donate that way as well. So we're nearly we're nearly done. We've got a few more things. We've got the notices coming up. We've got a song, another song coming up as well. It's a good way to finish this session on a Sunday. But just before I do, just some dad jokes. Has anyone got any dad jokes? I think that's the thing. I did have some dad jokes set up actually. I think that was good. I did have one set up. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this?
I've got one for you if you want it.
Okay, Jenny, you give me your dad joke and then I'll give you mine. Go on.
Okay. I have a pet newt. I call him Tiny because he's minute.
That's a brilliant gag. Brilliant gag. Yeah, very good. You see, I don't know if I'm going to be able to top that, but I've got one. It's what do you call an alligator wearing a vest?
I know.
You were going to say an investigator. You were going to say exactly that way. we've got a similar mind. I can tell, Claire. We've got a similar mind. And with Jenny's jokes there, I think we've got a similar mind too. Yeah. Yay for dad jokes. Absolutely. Okay, so if you've got any more dad jokes, just drop them in the chat. You can't go wrong with the odd dad joke. You really can't. You really can't go wrong with those. So we're going to go over now to, hopefully you've had time to donate, time to have a bit of a laugh, and we're going to go over for our notices to our the very special Matt Lockwood. Over to you, Matt.
Hello, and welcome to Virtual Conway Hall. It's just like Peter Snow on election night, except without the good technology. So my job is to tell you everything that is coming up for Sunday Assembly, and the best way I can do that is go to the even less high-tech. Should have practiced this before. The even less high-tech whiteboard. So everything that's happening can be found on the Sunday Assembly website, and events in particular can be found on sundayassembly.com/events, or just click the What's On button on there. So the next Sunday Assembly for London coming up is on July the 5th. And we're going to be celebrating Pride Month. Yeah, it's about the right time, with a theme of worldwide pride. And our speaker is going to be Oluni Awososi. She works for the BBC, and not only is she responsible for a lot of their website design, trying to make it as inclusive as possible, but she's also involved in trying to make the BBC an inclusive organization as much as possible for people of color, for people of various sexual preferences. So that's going to be fascinating. If you want to get involved with planning the future of Sunday Assembly London, then on June the 24th, which is this week, Wednesday, I think, we've got a community meeting. And the details, of course, are on Facebook and on the website. So come along if you want to get involved with planning for the future of this crazy little organization. And of course, it's not just London. There are loads of other assemblies elsewhere. The two, particularly this afternoon, Sunday Assembly East Bay, which is basically the other side of the bay from San Francisco, are going to be talking about self-compassion. And later on, Sunday Assembly Los Angeles are having a panel discussion on allyship, privilege, and police reform. So that's going to be good. But we've also got the other stuff going online that has been going on ever since we started being online while we can't be in Conway Hall. So go to the website, find board games twice a week, poetry, various types of meditation groups, and we've got a Live Better group on Thursday, which is a chance to talk about the issues that are happening at the moment, get support, get some mental health support, and so on. And also on the social front, we've got Lunch Club, which is new as of last week. Mitski's going to be hosting a lunch club every Wednesday lunchtime from 12 to 2. Just drop in, be sociable, take a break from your day. And that's pretty much everything we've got to say for now. So I'll just go back to my little Conway Hall, and that's it. Thank you, and goodbye.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Wonderful notices. And I'm just, I've got to say, I'm loving the dad jokes coming through, loving these. These are great. This is what we should do. This should be a thing now that we do. Couple of ones I picked out. Sam McIntyre, she's given some classics, but I think the one that I've loved, what's brown and sticky? A stick. Ha! Very good, very good. Thanks, Sam. And a wonderful one here from Tam. There's been loads of great dad jokes, I can't read them all. There's so many great, cracking dad jokes. From Tanya. I love this. I think you've got to have the right, saying for this. What does the cheese say when he looks in the mirror? Hello, me. Brilliant. You can't get better. Right. Loads of dad jokes going on in the chat. have a read of those, some cracking ones going on. We're going to finish it. We're going to have our song, and then we're going to come back and we're going to have a little bit of a poll. But first, we're going to have a song, and it's going to be sung by the lovely Charlotte Wall. So we're going to put the lyrics in the chat for this one as well. So get up, have a dance around, and just, yeah, have a bit of a boogie for our final song. Here we go, we've got it.
Think about it, there must be a higher love down in the heart or hidden in the stars above. Without it, life is a wasted time. Look inside of your heart and now look inside of mine. Things look so bad everywhere in this whole world. What is fair? We walk the line, try to see, falling behind what could be. Oh, bring me a higher love. Bring me a higher love. Oh, bring me a higher love. Where's that higher love I keep thinking of? Bring me higher love, love. Bring me higher love, oh. Bring me higher love, love. Bring me a higher love. Bring me higher love, love. Bring me higher love, oh. Bring me higher love, love. Bring me a higher love. What's the time? We're just hanging on, facing our fear and standing out there alone. Yeah, yeah, and it's real to me. There must be someone who's feeling for me. Things look so bad everywhere in this whole world. What is fair? We walk the line, try to see, falling behind what could be. Oh, bring me a higher love, my love. Bring me a higher love. Oh, bring me a higher love, my love. There's that higher love I keep thinking of. Bring me higher love, love. Bring me higher love, oh. Bring me higher love, love. Bring me a higher love. Bring me a higher love. Bring me a higher love, oh. Bring me a higher love. Higher love, I keep thinking, oh. Bring me higher love, love. Bring me higher love, oh. Bring me higher love, love. Higher love, I keep thinking, oh. Bring me a higher love. Bring me a higher love, oh.
Oh, I love that. Charlotte, what a voice. Blimey, what you belted that out. What a great song that was. I don't know about you, but I was sort of dancing and singing, seeing everyone's spotlight and everyone's sort of waving. And I was just like waving back. Saying, oh, hello, such and such. Hello, just waving back. And I loved the fact that we had so many animals there as well. I noticed a couple of cats and a couple of dogs. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So we are about to finish, but before we do, we've got a little poll for you. So I think we're going to put the poll up now. So it won't take too long to complete. So we've got the poll. It's live. You should see it on your screen in front of you. And I think you can just, as you know, we can see the results as they come in, or we will be able to see them shortly. So we're going to leave this poll on for about a minute. And then what will happen is we'll have a look at the results and we will go into breakout groups. So anyone that wants to stay a little bit longer, normally what we do at Conway Hall is that after the assembly finishes, we have a cup of tea, which is great. A cup of tea, biscuits, cakes, all that sort of stuff, and we just have a chat. So that's the idea of the breakout groups. It's to sort of replicate that. But we can't, you know, provide the tea, but if you've got a kettle, pop it on and make yourself a brew, and then you know, you can just sort of chat to people in the breakout groups, which would be very nice. So the results are coming in as we see. Give it a few more. We've got quite a lot of people voting here. This is brilliant. We are, let's see what it's saying to us. Good recommendation levels there. Very nice. Yeah, lovely. So if you can scroll up and down, you can see the results as they come in, and that's all live. So nice things there, but if it's what keeps you coming back, so community and feeling of belonging, a really important one there. People, 82% see people saying that. Interesting speakers and topics, and we had some fantastic speakers today. Thanks to everyone who was there. Music is always, you know, popular, you know, as well, for people to keep coming back. And you know, how do you hear about our virtual assemblies? Well, you know, we try to put it out there as often as we can, but please do share as well. We're wanting to you know, get out there as much as we can, and of course everyone is welcome at Sunday Assembly, and hopefully it's you know, a great thing to be part of. So if you know anyone that might be interested in Sunday Assembly, just share the relevant links that we've got on social media. So all that is left for me to say now with that fantastic fantastic assembly is to say thank you very, very much, and please stick around if you want to join the breakout groups. Have a great weekend, everyone.